What is up, guys? Ninja Nick 333, Champions League, Yokohama. You guys know it by now. We've been uploading these on a daily basis. We have a Mew VMAX deck here on the right because we do have the Genesect start. A little hard to tell from the full art Genesect, but that is a Fusion Strike system Fusion Strike symbol on the card. Yes. Some sort of Radiant Greninja utilizing deck on the left. Can't really tell what that is right now. Their Lost Box was very heavily played in this tournament, so I would not be surprised if that's what it is. We are using Battle VIP Pass to turn 1, grab 2 Genesect V. It looks like they are highlighting Radiant Jirachi for some reason, so likely one of these two decks is playing that. Not quite sure what Mew VMAX would utilize that for, unless I guess if it's the double turbo only build and you go first, you could always retreat into that, and then your opponent, if they're playing Lost Box, turn 1 knocks it out, and then you get 3 cards to just set yourself up. But I don't know, I feel like giving your opponent a free prize like that is just not very good, and I'd rather just do Oricorio instead because it's more useful in more matchups. But anyway, that's a tangent. We will continue on. We also get 2 Mew Vs down here onto the bench. We do have those Feather Balls that are able to search out Pokemon. There's also Nest Balls in this deck. Things of that nature. They do have to replace the Quick Balls that we no longer have access to because, as always, we are now in E-Block standard format. That is right, the D-Block cards are all rotated now. And we have Scarlet and Violet legal, and of course, Mew lost nothing but those Quick Balls, so it is still basically full power. It is also putting that Path to the Peak down, which shuts off the abilities of all Rulebox Pokemon. That, fun fact, includes Pokemon EX like Gardevoir EX. So we will have to see how well Path to the Peak does in the future. They future-proofed that card by saying Rulebox Pokemon. I knew that they were going to have a new gimmick after V Pokemon and that Path to the Peak would still affect those Pokemon, and here we are. I mean, Pokemon EX are an old mechanic from like the Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby Sapphire era. And what? Oh my god, what are we looking at? Okay, so that's a Zoroark. Okay, so this is a Gardevoir EX deck. So those Gardevoir EX will be shut off by Path to the Peak. Or at least I'm hoping it's a Gardevoir EX deck because I'm seeing a second Zoroark come down. So Zoroark, when it evolves into Zoroark, the Zoroark has as long as I know exactly what this is, the Zoroark has the Phantom Transformation ability, I believe is what it's called. I like how both judges say stop, and they catch it very quickly. That is not something that these North American judges do, I'll tell you that much. But we do see a Fighting Energy come down onto the Radiant Greninja and a Research. But those Zoroarks can transform into any Stage 1 Pokemon that's in your discard pile. So yeah, it looks like we are playing multiple Ralts, so this may be a Gardevoir EX deck. You could always use those Zoroarks to evolve, or to transform into Kirlias that are in the discard pile. So that is a very interesting way to play a Gardevoir EX deck that does make it a little bit more consistent to make sure that you can keep chaining those evolutions into play. So not that bad of an idea after all, especially since a lot of these Gardevoir decks do play a 3-2 split, 3 of the Shining Arcana Gardevoir that can look at the top 2 cards of your deck. If any of them are basic energy, attach them to your Pokemon however you want, and then put the rest in your hand. So at worst, a free draw 2. And 2 of the Gardevoir EX that as many times as you want in a turn, you can put 2 damage counters on one of your Pokemon and attach a Psychic Energy from your discard pile if you did that, and you cannot knock out your own Pokemon in that way. So if you would knock out that Pokemon, you can't use that ability at all. So it looks like we are going to be using a Cramomatic. Discarding an Echoing Horn is going to search our deck for any one card. We could replace that Path to the Peak if we so desire. That's probably what we want to do here. The Path to the Peak did prevent the Radiant Greninja from using its concealed cards on the last turn, making it so that the Gardevoir deck does get a little bit hurted there. Hurted? Is that a word? Oh, they might have also just called out the Radiant Jirachi just because we do have Radiant Jirachi sleeves here, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, we do have the Lost Vacuum here is going to Lost Zone a card from the hand and that Path to the Peak. So now Mew is able to use the Genesect to draw until there are 5 cards in hand. That is a really cool art for Escape Rope. Did we ever get that art of Escape Rope? I think that was supposed to be a League Cup promo, but we never got it because COVID, the Rona. But anyway, we do see the Power Tablet come down, and now we're going to be able to draw until we have 5 cards in our hand because there are 5 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. And we are going to have to see if we can get into the Mew VMAX this turn. I don't think that we have it yet. We do have a Nest Ball, though. That is going to get 1 more Pokemon in play. Looks like we are choosing yet another Mew V. So we have 2 more Genesect abilities, 2 more Fusion Strike systems to draw until we have now 6 cards in hand. So hopefully we will see those Mew VMAXs come to hand. We need at least 1 this turn so this Mew V can attack. This is not the Fusion Strike Energy build, so we can't just attach a Fusion Strike Energy and Elisa Sparkle to anything, because if we were doing that, we could actually attack with the Mew V, but that is not a potential in this deck. It is a lot more consistent, though, not having to play any of those cards. You can just play more item cards, more stadiums. You have the ability to use the Path to the Peak a lot more effectively. You can have the Lost Vacuums, spin your cards out of your hand a lot better with that. That way you can more realistically dig into your Mew VMAX. We do see the Judge is going to disrupt both players' hands, shuffle them in, and draw 4. And we are going to have to see if that is enough. No, looks like there are no more cards to thin and no Mew VMAX in hand from this Mew player. So we are just going to have to Genesect for 2. We do get the Mew VMAX here, though, and we still have the one last Genesect can draw maybe another 1 card or so. At the very worst, we do have the ability to copy Psychic Leap from our benched Mew. We could choose to shuffle the Mew VMAX back into deck, but I don't think that that's necessarily necessary, to say the least, because we did play the Power Tablet. So even though we're doing -20 with the double Turbo Energy, we are doing +30 because of the Power Tablet. So yep, might as well just copy Psychic Leap, do 80, take the knockout on that Zoroark. And yeah, he is deciding to shuffle the Mew back into his deck. A very interesting decision there. I think that that's a little risky. I mean, I'm not sure if it's correct to shuffle it in or not correct, because it could really go either way, in all honesty. So we have... Oh, are we really playing all of those cards in there that keep flashing up on the screen? Are we playing Slowbro in this? Please don't tell me we are. So this might actually just be a Zoroark box deck. So these Zoroark box decks are absolutely terrible. Only one of them has ever had any amount of moderate success, and that is only because it managed to hit 1 Lost Box deck in all of day 1 in a regional. Somehow, some way. Through by tying, IDing against John Ang for no reason when John was playing Dunsparceless Lugia. It just kind of threw that one by taking the ID there. Like, why would you ID to 6-0-1 when you could just play it out and risk winning, you know? But looks like we are just going to get a Drapion onto the bench and retreat into it and attack. Now, in my opinion, this is awful. You never want to use a Drapion this way, because your opponent could always respond with the Lost Stadium and then get that. You only took a 2-prize knockout with the Drapion, and your opponent can Lost City it, Lost Zoning it forever. So it actually ends up being very correct that this player shuffled in that Mew VMAX, leaving only 2 prize Pokemon. Maybe he knew that this player was already on the Drapion V. You know, in these American tournaments, a lot of websites will actually publish what all of the day 2 players are playing. So a lot of the time, if you're in day 2, once you get your pairings before you go to your table, you can look at that site. And if your opponent's deck list name was published, like say, oh, you now know you're going against Miraidon EX Regieleki VMAX, right? Or you know you're going against Mew VMAX. Like, you know exactly how to play the matchup already. So if you know your opponent is playing Zoroark box Gardevoir with a Drapion in it, then then you know to Psychic Leap your VMAX back into the deck to mitigate the risk of being one-shot by a Drapion. And yeah, your opponent taking 2 prize cards off of Mew V is a lot different than taking 3 prize cards off of Mew V Max. We are going to see yet another judge come down after we get the new Mew VMAX evolved and the double turbo energy down. We still have 3 Fusion Strike systems to go here. So we'll see if there's any cards we can play out and so that we can Fusion Strike system for more, because we do only have 4 Pokemon in play, so we can only draw until we have 4 in hand. There is a Power Tablet and a Cramomatic, so he can thin this hand to 0. The Cramomatic would be really great if he could flip heads. He does, so at the very least, he could just get another basic Pokemon so he can draw 1 card deeper. He is going to go for the Nest Ball because that is a card that he can even thin. It will get him to that basic Pokemon that he needs. So, yeah, you can... So there's 2 ways you could do it. You could either search out the Mew V now, because then you'll still leave Nest Ball and Mew V in your deck so that you can potentially get to the 6 Pokemon in play. Or you could just thin out the Nest Ball now by searching for that and then getting the Mew V off of that, so that then there's only 1 card you could hit in deck that could get to the Mew V, but that's 1 less card in deck that isn't what you're digging for besides that. I'm not sure what else he's digging for right now, to be honest. Oh, I guess the Lost City if he's playing it. Yeah, so if he's playing the Lost City, he's definitely still digging for that. So I would say if he's digging for that, I think maybe going for the Nest Ball is correct. Looks like he might not have gotten there, but he does have 2 Forest Seal Stones and an unused V-Star power. So he can likely search his deck for whatever 1 card he wants. And yeah, if he has that, I would say that that is really good. But the problem is that this Zoroark box deck, the Zoroark can just attack and one-shot a Mew VMAX if it has a Choice Belt. Yeah, let me look at what the attack is, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It is from Evolving Skies, Pokemon.com. What does this say? It does, yeah, for 2 colorless, it does 70. Oh, actually, no. Even with the Choice Belt, it only does 200. So that's enough to one-shot a Mew V, but not a Mew V Max. So it looks like we are using a Rezu, which allows you to search your deck for 3 evolution Pokemon and put them into your hand. So we are choosing Zoroark, Kirlia. So we are using those Kirlias just as draw power. I think there are no Gardevoirs in this deck. To be seen, I do believe. Yeah, I think that they're using these... yeah, I think that they're using these Gardevoirs as just a draw engine instead of, like, say, Cinccino, which may have rotated, in all honesty. Let's get the actual battle music back on, because it, again, YouTube auto-played into something else for no reason. So we are seeing the Level Ball allows you to search your deck for any Pokemon that has 90 HP or less. We are going to use that to get another Ralts into play. Even if those Kirlias get knocked out, you can always Phantom Transform into another one of those if you really need to deep draw a little bit more. You even have that Radiant Greninja to draw even further. So we are going to Phantom Transform, it looks like, into the Mightyena. It seems a little overkill to be playing the Mightyena as well as the Drapion. I think maybe playing 2 Mightyena is the way to go in this deck, because that is a 1 prize Pokemon. But yeah, so takes the 3 prize knockout there, and even though this Mew deck, in all honesty, should be winning because it's the one that's been able to consistently draw into exactly what it wants, this Zoroark deck literally just went Drapion, I take 2 prize cards. Mightyena, I take 3 prize cards. Like, very minimal effort. So this is a very, very one-sided matchup. Mew does not really have very many tools to get around a dedicated Zoroark deck like this. Especially since Path to the Peak does not shut off the Zoroark, it only shuts off the Radiant Greninja. And this player was able to get a whole bunch of these Curlies into play to keep drawing every single turn. So yeah, you need to see another Mew VMAX this turn. And your opponent needs to not Phantom Transform into the Mightyena again. So again, you need that Lost City, but at this point, I don't believe that this player is playing the Lost City, because he would have used the Forest Seal Stone on the last turn to grab it when knocking out the Drapion. Because you need to Lost Zone the Drapion, and then you need to Lost Zone the Mightyena in order to have any amount of a chance to win. And even so, once you go down to 2 prize cards remaining, the Zoroark can Phantom Transform into Slowbro, and it has an attack for, I want to say 1 colorless energy. It might be 2 colorless energy, but I'm pretty sure it's 1 colorless energy that says if your opponent has 2 prize cards remaining, or 1 prize remaining, take 2 prize cards. So yeah, so if the Mew deck goes down to 1 prize card left, the Slowbro just wins the game for you, so without even having to attack. So this is the key turn here. If Lost City is in this deck, he needs to play it now. And get rid of that Mightyena forever. And then hope that you never see, like, Ordinary Rod or any sort of Pokemon recycling, like Clara. You have to never see Clara or anything from your opponent. Or does Clara not get V Pokemon? I think Clara can Clara only get single prize Pokemon? I can't remember. I'm surprised this Zoroark deck is at 8-2. It must have only hit 2 Lost Box decks to be the 2 losses and then just 1 out. Yeah, at most 2 Lost Box decks it would have had to hit. I gotta find a way to better fix my lighting, because my green screen is just not working the way I want it to right now. I had to up it, now I have to lower it again. First world problems, am I right? So we saw the Pal Pad, we shuffled in a couple supporters. We are going to use the V-Star power now. Probably going to grab out one of those supporters that were just shuffled in that I looked away from the camera, so I don't know what it is. I would hope it's not Boss's Orders, because then you leave the Mightyena in play, and then you definitely lose. Oh, the Roxanne is probably what he got. But your opponent has so many ways to just draw cards. Like, you have to do it. They're at 1 prize card. But even still, if you Roxanne them and knock out the Mightyena, if you don't Lost City, they just Phantom Transform into the Mightyena and just win the game off of that. So for those who don't know, the Mightyena can attack for free if your opponent's active Pokemon is a VMAX. And it does like 160 at least, so it one-shots a Mew VMAX. And yeah, you see the rock. You see the Mew is using a Psychic Leap to knock out the Mightyena, shuffling itself back into the deck, putting up a Genesect. So we are at 2 prize cards remaining. Yeah, so now you're going to have to find a way to not only get the Mew VMAX back into play, but also move the Genesect from the active. So this is making your opponent's chances of winning this turn as low as possible, but also your own chances of winning on the next turn as low as possible. And we are using Phantom Transformation to go into the Raichu. Oh god, I don't remember what this thing does. Oh, if your opponent has used their V-Star power, it does like 160 or something. Or 190? I gotta look at it now. Oh, and that's a Gallade that searches your deck for a supporter card. Is it Evolving Skies? No. Lost Origin. No. Silver Tempest. Yeah, it does 40 plus 100 if your opponent used their V-Star power. So it does 140. But it looks like, nope, we are able to recycle the Drapion instead and take the final knockout with the Drapion. It does do 190. The Genesect has... Oh, man. The Genesect does have exactly 190 HP. So it is able to just take the one shot there and win the game. So again, the Mew deck really lost this game because of their lack of Lost City. So I do believe a 2-2 split, 2 Lost City, 2... Path to the Peak is the way to play Mew VMAX. The Lost City is just good against Lost Box as well. If your opponent has like the right attacker out, you can just Lost Zone it and then they can't reuse it. But yeah, that's it. Very odd matchup to see, very one-sided one, but that is just how those cookies do be crumbling. So as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Feed that YouTube algorithm, click that notification bell to be notified when new videos are live on the channel. Check that description box down below for all the links to the socials and the Twitch and all that whatnot. And we will see you guys next time.